folks. Welcome to a podcast about Catholic things. This is Eric, the ambassador of common sense, and I'm here with
Dan. I'm the ambassador of nonsense, everyone. Welcome.
And I'll apologize ahead of time. I don't know how this recording is going to come out, but I'm trying to record from a hotel room, so I don't have my normal microphone with me or anything else. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see if Apple pulls through.
Yeah, well, I'm recording on my iPad, and I don't know. I've never tried this, but it's all I got with me.
All right.
Today, I guess, here's the thing. On this subject, it's not like the church has a whole lot of teaching.
Yeah, I know. I was going to try to approach it from breaking it down in terms of, moral teachings about law and stuff like that, and questions. I mean, just putting the question out there. Let's clue people in here. We're talking about copyright.
Copyright,
and so your buddy gives you a duped copy of a film. Are you violating some kind of moral law by watching it?
Right. And then more if you're actively going to Pirate Bay and downloading movies and everything you can find and music.
Yeah. Or if you rip them from a DVD and upload them to Pirate Bay.
Right. Or,
for example,
if you want to say certain prayers, but the Catholic Church owns some kind of rights to it, and you take one of their missals and copy it so that you can pray it at home.
Right.
Because
so
that's kind of what you got to do sometimes.
Technically violated federal copyright law. But where does this stand morally? I mean, is this like going over the speed limit? Or is this does this involve a real injustice that's committed against the copyright holder? And so that's kind of the question that I want to spend a little bit of time talking about. It's kind of ironic that we're talking about this today in a sense, and I'll point out the irony more completely later. But either yesterday or today was when YouTube came out with, I don't know if you've seen it. They put this notification out that basically YouTube have decided that the drama over the election is over, and they're just going to systematically remove any videos that make claims counter to what YouTube considers the truth.
That is a huge
regarding
deal
the election
for copyright owners.
Well, here's the thing. I think it's a huge deal for people who are concerned about about slipping into a media-controlled dystopia. To me, this is YouTube is. Do you ever see the Schwarzenegger movie, The Running Man?
You know what? I've never seen that. No.
Oh, okay. Well, I won't go too much into the spoilers there, but the network, the TV network there that controls the Running Man game is ICS Networks. Or ICS Network Broadcasting or Broadcasting Network. Anyway, the point is they literally make the news. Okay? And this is YouTube being like ICS now. I mean, this is like slipping down into that Running Man dystopian gutter that is presented in that movie. Go watch the movie. It's worth a good watch.
Okay.
It is Schwarzenegger pulp film, if you know what I mean. But,
yeah. Well, it's a big deal in that sense, but it's a big deal because many moons ago, copyright owners started suing YouTube and said, hey, you've got our material on your channel, and you're not charging anybody, but that's our material, and you're not paying for it. And YouTube says, hey, we're a platform. We can't control what our users publish. We do not publish things. Well, that released them from all kinds of laws, including copyright laws.
Right. And eventually, at first that
they had to duke it out for a while, but they got when Google bought them, the fight was over.
Right. Then it was like, okay, you could just languish in court, or you can learn to get along with it. And they came out, with other.
They came out with a
provisions,
couple things
safety
that
provisions
made
for
some
platforms.
People happy. Yeah, you do have a chance to earn money if you hold the copyright.
That's the thing that I was going to point out, that YouTube they're acting high and mighty now with regards to the so-called truth. I mean, they're becoming all moralistic about this presidential election when they made themselves. They grew into what they are. They became the de facto posting site for videos by allowing and encouraging their users to illegally then post copyrighted material.
Right. They were a platform. Now suddenly they're saying
now they're not a platform. They're
certain times.
Yeah. Now we're a platform when it comes to certain things, but we're going to be a full news filtering editorial board when it comes to things that we would rather people not think about.
Yeah. So
that's what it boils down to. Which again, I would say that YouTube is, you'll agree with me completely when you watch the movie. YouTube is ICS in The Running Man.
Yeah. Huh. Well,
anyway, it's just kind of funny that that happened today, and it happens to be when we're going to be talking about copyright.
Right. But let's look at it from a creator's stance. Say someone who writes stories or makes videos or records music,
produces music, whatever. Right. So that's the question. Because today everybody seems to agree on the term piracy. Copyright violation is piracy. When you copy something that you didn't pay for, that's piracy. And they refer to it as theft. And so there's this underpinning of this kind of common agreement across society that says if you have created something, you automatically get and it attaches to you to have a natural right to control the distribution, copying, dissemination of this, even once you've in some manner publicly revealed it.
Yeah.
So or likewise for inventions, if you invent something, you inherit a natural right to decide under what terms somebody else is allowed to put the concept of your invention into practice for themselves, for their own use.
This, I think...
That's the patent law.
Yeah.
So the question that I'm trying to put out there is that true? Is there really a natural right that attaches to this? Is there some kind of violation of justice when we go take somebody else's created work and make a copy of it?
I don't know.
And of course,
if this
we're talking
is really
about under Catholic natural law.
I don't think this is objectively a moral issue. I don't know, but it's never. I could not find where it's actually been defined. It's possible that the church is unwilling to define it because the church owns so many copyrights.
That's true.
It's like a conflict of interest for them.
Yeah. Which is something that, we've talked about that. Oh gosh, one of our earliest podcasts, I mentioned that to me is a problem.
Right.
That liturgical works are copyrighted at all is a liturgical problem for me.
Now,
is a problem for me.
In the beginning, it's meant to encourage people to continue to develop both art and engineering feats to,
and that's
that's
give
them
something I
just
wanted to bring up.
So that and basically, I guess two things happens. Number one, when a company creates something and they own the patents or copyrights to it, other rival companies can't just come in and do the same thing, only they didn't have to spend money on the research and development. and make a bunch of money off of their inventions. But then
right.
that also protects I don't think originally it was meant to, but because a bunch of small-time inventors made use of these laws, the larger companies were unable to take the inventions of small guys around the country and just use whatever they wanted and not give them money for it.
Right. So that's something that we should point out. So what you're talking about there is specifically the American approach, the American system, the American underpinnings of copyright law and patent law, for that matter. And this is something that I almost wonder if this is maybe uniquely American. I wonder if there's anywhere else in the world that has this precise take on it. But I'm going to go ahead and break down the American approach to this and the American underpinnings of copyright, starting with the Constitution.
Yeah.
So in the Constitution, just for those who don't know, the Constitution, I'm talking about the United States Federal Constitution, and it defines the structure and the powers of the federal government. And it does this, the powers that it assigns are explicit powers given to the individual branches of government. Now, a lot of people mistakenly say that there's a equal balance of power among the three branches, that they all share like power equally. That's not actually true, because the greatest power is actually legislative, and that power is constitutionally vested in a Congress. So Congress is the only body of the government at a federal level that's allowed to make laws. The president's not allowed to make laws. The courts are not allowed to make laws according to the Constitution. Only the Congress.
Neither is the EPA or any other bureaucracy.
Yeah, right. However, the Congress itself can't just make any laws that it wants to make for the whole country. It's kind of weird. They can, not because of the Constitution, but because of the particular relationship with Washington, D.C. as a municipal area under the direct control of Congress. Congress can make any law they want for Washington, D.C., as long as it doesn't violate something like the Bill of Rights. But they can't just make any law for the rest of the country. Instead, they can only make laws that accomplish the specific powers that are listed for them in the Constitution. So Article 1 deals with the Congress, and Section 8 of Article 1 defines the powers that Congress has. And there's 18 of them and no more, and if it's not one of these 18 powers, Congress isn't allowed to do it. One of those powers, and here's where copyright comes from. I'm going to read it verbatim, using the lead-in phrase from the beginning. Congress shall have the power to promote the progress of science and useful arts by securing for limited times to authors and inventors the exclusive right to their respective writings and discoveries. Now, the interesting thing about this is that the power to secure exclusive rights to authors and inventors, that's not directly a power of Congress. The actual power being granted to Congress is to promote progress of science and useful arts. And if the way that they run copyright law does not promote progress in science and useful arts, then Congress has violated their constitutional mandate. They've stepped outside their constitutional authority in creating that law. So, in other words, if they create a copyright law that in some manner works counter to promoting science and useful arts or progress in science and useful arts, then it's a illegal law.
Now, what you're saying, it's not like anyone can take what you've just said and say, if they're getting sued for pirating music, somehow use that and take it to court and win. But
probably not.
What we're talking about is we have a moral obligation to follow United States laws and the laws of our states. And this is possibly one of those cases where because the law isn't legal, there's an argument to be made that you don't have the moral obligation to follow this law.
By virtue of it being a law.
Right.
Now, if people really have a natural right to control the propagation of something they produced, then that natural right would be our obligation, irrespective of the law.
Right.
But here's the other thing. The founding fathers, those who were around, in America at the time of this writing of the Constitution, not only did not consider people to have a natural right to control their writings, rather they considered it a natural right in as much as they thought about natural rights. They considered it natural that if you knew something, you were allowed to make use of it. So if no matter how you acquired that knowledge, so if you acquired knowledge of how to make a mechanism because somebody else did it and you saw his, you had a natural right to be able to do that. Or back then they didn't have these things, but if you had a book and a copy machine, you could make use of those things. Put the book on the machine and push the button and make a copy of the page of the book. Okay, now you've got a copy of it. You can use the stuff you own. You can make use of the knowledge you have. That's a natural right that everybody has. Now, what the founding fathers are doing by this clause is that they're saying we're going to give Congress the power to promote the development of science and stuff by allowing them to temporarily suspend everybody's natural right to make use of what they have by making copies, by using inventions and so forth. We're going to temporarily suspend that so that only the inventor and author have that right and the ability to convey that right to others under terms and so on and so forth. But we're going to do that as a trade-off for the expediency of the greater good of promoting progress.
Right.
And so that was the trade-off. So it wasn't that, hey, we need to find a way to protect authors' rights. It was, hey, you know what? We want people to be authors, so we're going to temporarily suspend everybody else's rights with regards to an author's works and allow that author to try to turn that into some kind of profit. That way, hopefully, he'll keep producing stuff. But it's only supposed to be for a limited time. Why? Because their ultimate goal was to bring more and more science and art and so forth into the public domain. And you do that by having those terms expire. And then if you want to, it's kind of like a what have you done for me lately? If you're an author, you don't get to rest on your laurels just because you had one great idea that everybody loved. Okay, if you want to keep riding that wave, you got to come up with the next great idea. This is kind of this is where
that's the spirit of the law.
It's the spirit of the law. And that was the reality of the law up until Disney happened.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, until Disney happened. So under the original law, it was like 38 years or something like that. You could do I think it was 14 years, and then you could, it was 28. It was 14 years, and then you could apply for an extension for another 14 years if you were still making some hay off of the copyrighted work. For inventions, it's different. It's like 17 years, and then you can apply up to 2 extensions or something like that. I forget exactly all the numbers, but it very reasonable. I mean, it was the kind of thing that, okay, within your lifetime, your copyright, your patent, whatever, is going to expire.
You can make your living off of that copyright or patent, and then
you got to come up with something else.
Yeah, eventually it's like, okay, you've earned your living now. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Your
go
kids need to earn their own living.
That's right. You don't get to. Your kids don't get to inherit an estate of almost unlimited copyright. So then what happened was in the 1900s, Disney came along. They had a huge success with Mickey Mouse, and suddenly they were up against a crisis. Mickey Mouse was going to fall out of copyright. And so they got together with various Congress people and with the music recording industry and other content producing industries, but Disney was the one who really led it because they were the ones who had this one singular crisis. and they extended copyright. And then they extended again, and then they extended again, to the point where... It literally
meant millions of dollars if they lost the copyright to Mickey Mouse. Immediately, their sales would drop. And so they did whatever they had to do to stop that. But we're really just talking about corporate greed at this point.
Exactly. That's the
and the irony is, over and over again, they take age-old ideas written by other people and turn them somehow into their own copyrights. Like the Jungle Book and the Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty and all these other ones.
Yeah, a lot of them are fairy tales. The Jungle Book, that was actually Rudyard Kipling, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was Rudyard Kipling's, or it was a guy wrote.
Rudyard
story.
Kipling.
Pinocchio was written by someone else. There's no reason Disney should own anything on Pinocchio.
Particularly, right. Although I think if somebody wanted to go and make his own version of the Jungle Book or Pinocchio, they probably could, since those are not Disney inventions.
Yeah,
however,
I know,
but the thing is, this idea of copyright being to secure for limited times is almost meaningless in the current environment. And so what you've got is a situation where there's a petty tyranny regarding the copyright regime. Petty, what I mean is that let's face it, it's not, if I am not able to get that movie that I want to get and download it and use it, it's not a great injustice to me that I can't do it. If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even like the original copyright, okay, I have a natural law right to to make use of the things I have, which includes if I've got a book I want to make a copy, give it to a friend, whatever. I've got a natural law right to do that. The suspension of that natural law right for a limited time, it's not a great injustice. And even as we've continued to extend that, it continues to not be a great injustice.
Right.
But at the same time, it's one of those situations where it has grown to the point where it's an illegal law. It's an unconstitutional law. Congress, in its current inception of copyright law, has overstepped its bounds because it doesn't fulfill the actual power given to Congress, which is to promote the progress of science and useful arts. Instead, current copyright law promotes not progressing. Look how many reboots Disney has done in the past few years of just recycling their old stuff. Their own old stuff. They're not progressing.
All the Marvel comics. How many Batmans are there?
Bingo.
For heaven's sakes, create some new heroes.
Right.
And what's more, the breaking of those laws is not a huge injustice either.
It's not an injustice. In fact, the breaking of the laws is not an injustice at all.
It's not a big deal.
Right.
Well, okay, yeah.
I would challenge anybody to show me that under natural law, violating copyright is a injustice in any sense whatsoever. It's an injustice. It's a violation of positive law. But I challenge anybody to bring me an argument that says that there's an actual natural law injustice that occurs in a copyright violation.
Yeah. And what's more, there's other arguments to be made that the guy who originally created Mickey Mouse is no longer among us. I know he has family who want to hold on to this fortune, but it's not them that are holding on to the fortune. It's the Disney Corporation at this point.
Right.
And what's more...
It's not even his family,
At this point, because Mickey Mouse was such a huge part of our culture, the rights to Mickey Mouse are cultural.
Yeah, that's true. It kind of already belongs to everybody.
It is part of our upbringing, and I think naturally people even more so have a right to use him as they create their own works, whether it's a book or
another good point.
A drawing.
That's a good point. When you create something that becomes kind of like a phenomenon like that, you incur an obligation to society to put that, in fact, in the public domain. That's part of the beauty of the original copyright system in the United States. And a part of the beauty of how the founding fathers worded it in the Constitution. If you create something that allows you to become, fabulously successful because of that, well, the only reason you're able to do that is by a broad public buy-in for that. Well, that makes that a cultural icon. That makes that something that the public, by doing that and by supporting you, we gain culturally a right to that you have to give up then. It's like the bigger the money payout is for it, the more you have an obligation to go ahead and let that go and let it fall into the public domain instead of trying to extend it through copyright law revisions.
Yeah. For example, the song Happy Birthday, which I believe is still under copyright law.
I think it is. Technically, they're not supposed to be able to sing it at restaurants and stuff unless they, I don't know, pay somebody or whatever.
Right.
But it's only this isn't only the melody that's copyrighted, because like the original song was like a Good Morning instead of Happy Birthday song or something like that.
I do not remember. I just know that you never hear it in movies.
Yeah.
Or the cheaper movies anyway. I guess some of them are able to pay that off.
The more expensive ones can do that. But
I always thought that was silly. Everybody sings it every day throughout the entire
melody.
Country.
Right. That. But in fact, Mickey Mouse himself. That just to bring the irony around, Mickey Mouse himself is not originally Mickey Mouse of Walt Disney. Mickey Mouse was a copy of another character called Steamboat Willie.
Was it?
Yeah.
Is Steamboat Willie not Disney's creation?
I don't think it is. I think Disney copied Steamboat Willie, turned it into Mickey Mouse. Let me look that up real quick.
Okay. While you're looking up that, I will bring up the point that there's an even bigger injustice in withholding materials from the Creative Commons when we come on things like prayers and translations of prayers that are used by the faithful and hymns. And it's one of the things that I never understood how the church got away with it. I never understood how they take sacred texts, and I guess I could understand a guy who speaks both languages and decides, I'm going to translate this into this, and maybe holds on to that copyright for a short time so that he could sell his translation. But over the years, the translation becomes popular, and a lot of it becomes part of prayer, part of the daily prayer life.
Right.
And somehow there's a copyright hold on that. I would say it's an even bigger violation of natural law by the church.
Yeah, no, I'm still reading about Steamboat Willie. Yeah, that's a good point. I extended into the spiritual life. That's even more significant. Steamboat Willie wasn't the first Mickey cartoon. Oh, okay. So I was wrong. Steamboat Willie.
That's just a myth.
Well, it's not a myth. I don't know where I heard originally that Mickey Mouse was based on Steamboat Willie, but Steamboat Willie was the third cartoon featuring the Mickey Mouse character, and it was a Disney cartoon, so I was wrong about that.
Okay.
We were talking just before about YouTube's, actions, the recent actions.
Yeah.
And what they're basically doing is proposing to, okay, we're going to control the view of history that everybody sees. What if that's already been going on? What if Disney's been out there erasing and replacing references to the real story behind Mickey Mouse and Steamboat Willie? I'm not saying that this is the case. It's just that given where the discussion we just had about YouTube, is it that far-fetched?
Yeah. Well, nowadays people have these forums that they go to, and people still talk to each other, and we're able to communicate these ideas. I don't think they could fight a whole lot, just like there's still millions of people out there who really understand that Donald Trump did in fact win the election.
Yeah.
But that's just being hidden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and By the way, did you hear the what is it? 17 states have signed on to Texas's.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
the Texas suit against the 5 states who are
right
have
17,
violated. What is it? They violated the voting laws.
Yeah,
constitutional voting laws.
Right.
And Texas is trying to hold them. So wait a minute, is the Supreme Court going to take the case?
That's the big question. But 17 additional states have joined Texas in this lawsuit, from what I've read and seen on Twitterland lately. That's a third of the country. 17 states out of 50. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's like major scandal. Scandal's the wrong word. As a Catholic, scandal means something very specific. But that's a real, let's say it would seriously undermine the legitimacy of the Supreme Court for them to not hear this case completely.
Right, when
and
that
fully.
many people are looking to them to do something about this.
Right. And the Constitution...
Aside from the 70 million people who voted for him and want him to be president.
yeah, there's that too. And the Constitution gives the Supreme Court the direct authority over all disputes between the states. So normally, in order for a case to reach the Supreme Court, it's got to go through local courts and then maybe federal appeals courts. And there's a line, a kind of chain of court command that it has to go through.
But this goes directly to the Supreme Court.
Right. But constitutionally, disputes between states have to go straight to the Supreme Court. It was kind of a master stroke on the part of the Texas Attorney General to do this.
Yeah.
Let's hope it bears fruit.
I guess we haven't. I guess there's not a whole lot more we can say on this. On number one,
I think the takeaways
it's not a serious violation of any law.
Yeah.
To say download pirated products. Number two, the current laws that are out there are illegal laws. They're, according to the U.S. Constitution. There is no moral teaching on this matter yet. Mm-hmm. Now, I think it's obvious that when, say, a band creates a song and tries to sell it to the public, that if we're gonna work as a society and we're gonna try to help musicians earn a living, then it makes sense that we pay when we say download it and put it on our iPads or whatever. iPhones,
and that's what I was going to say. There's a common good element here where we say, okay, band creates a song, band puts it in the internet, or not puts it on the internet. Band creates a song, band makes some tapes or CDs. You go to the store, you get it, and then suddenly all of your friends have it too because they came over your house and you have a cool CD player that'll copy it onto a cassette tape, and now they all have cassette tapes of it. So there's not a direct natural law justice problem as regards the band in that case, but depending on the level to which you do that, like distributing them out at school versus just making a copy for your buddy and the next time he's the one that buys the CD, that kind of stuff.
Versus setting your radio out in public and saying, just put your tape in here and hit record, and then you can make your own thing.
Yeah. So
which is what the Pirate Bay is.
Right, yeah. But there's a so even if there's not a morally speaking a matter of direct injustice to the band, there is a question of common good that we say, okay, wait a minute, we have some kind of system of law here that's meant to accomplish a common good goal by telling us hold back for a little bit before you start doing that stuff. And from a common, we should feel, as Catholics, as Christians, we should feel an obligation towards the common good to try to comply with that.
Yeah.
So it's not for the sake of the law itself when the law itself happens to exceed its authority. Rather, it's getting back to the intention of the law and the actual grant of power to Congress that was given and saying, okay, let me try to cooperate that in a way that actually really does serve the common good, rather than just serving the ongoing greed of corporations that want to keep, riding on past laurels.
Right. So I don't have anything else on that.
That's my only takeaway. Yeah, I don't have much else. It's a lot of things to just kind of parse through and try to understand. Yeah. And again, I put those challenges out there. Somebody bring an argument to me. I'm not saying that I've read all the applicable material and I know this stuff for a fact. I'm saying, hey, this is what I think. This is what seems real to me. But bring me an argument if you disagree.
Okay. Well, I do have some current events that I'm not going through these the way I normally do, so it might seem kind of choppy. Okay, this is
you got to browse
funny.
On your iPad while you're recording on it?
Huh?
You got to browse on your iPad while you're recording on it?
Yeah. So I can't see if maybe it stopped recording and then... Or if something's happening to the recording that isn't good.
Right.
I can't see it the way I normally would. Also, if I press a button on it or do something with it, everybody's going to hear it.
Oh, right.
So
you don't want to tap it too loud.
Okay, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern, that's the way it looks to me anyway, announces that the country has declared a climate change emergency and promises that it will become carbon neutral by 2025.
So New Zealand has just become an economic has-been.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I think they were headed that direction anyway. I mean, they've been more or less socialized.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
So,
but the funny thing is that New Zealand is such a small part of the environment, and that they're declaring it an emergency.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's generally, if someone says we're going to be carbon neutral, all that means is that they're pumping their energy in from another country.
That's true. It doesn't really mean that they're carbon neutral in terms of their activities.
And companies or countries like China will be like, all right, we'll be happy to make all the energy because we don't really care about the carbon.
That's
and
right.
we don't even care about creating the energy in a clean way.
In fact,
we'll just create the energy and then you can have it or buy it.
In fact, China probably supports all of these global carbon efforts because they know they're not going to do anything about it, and everybody who they can shame into doing something about it is going to end up buying energy from China.
Yeah, or Russia or India or a lot of of the third world countries. Their corrupt governments will say, yeah, you guys can come in here, create the energy, we'll ship it back to you, and of course these tiny little governments, you give us tons of money. And we won't really take care of our people and say, hey, you got to clean up after yourself, or you have to.
There's also a sense. I mean, it's laughable. It's the New Zealand to say climate emergency. We're going to become carbon neutral. I mean, it's kind of like the kid whose dad is going bankrupt and he thinks he's going to help by giving up his dessert at school lunches or something.
Yeah. I won't eat lunch anymore, Dad, and that'll help us. That way we won't have to sell the house and move and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, it's just silly. The whole thing is... I would be so embarrassed if I were that prime minister.
If I lived there. Yeah.
I guess he's not, I don't know if they swallow this or if they know exactly what they're doing. I would imagine at that end, when someone who's prime minister... They really do understand what's going on here. He's not that
This
stupid.
has to be some kind of weird posturing or something.
Yeah. I apologize to people that...
Did you just sneeze?
No, I'm sniffing because
okay.
I can't breathe through my nose. And normally, I sniff a lot, but I usually cut most of those sniffs out and nobody ever hears it.
Oh, okay.
But this time I might not see them as well.
And we know you don't have
if
COVID
I do something,
because you've already had it, so it's just the sniffles.
But if I do something that I know later I'm going to want to edit out, I'll click my device and I'll see a little spike there and I'll think, oh, I need to edit something there, and I go. But I don't have any way of doing this now.
Right.
Speaking of environment, California, more wildfires, this time in Orange County.
Wow.
There's people...
In Orange County?
There are ways that it doesn't have to be this way. If I were in California... See, that's why I think, these election frauds, I think they've been going on for a long time, and I think they're going on in a larger scale than anyone's willing to accept. Because I don't think the people who are running California
actually have the support of that many
by
voters.
the voters' choice. I just
it's hard
don't
to
believe
imagine,
it.
Isn't it? That
their state is burning down, and it's because of idiotic policies.
Yeah,
you can't tell me people vote for that.
Right. I mean, it's easy to imagine that a few leaders can be that stupid. It's difficult to imagine that millions of people can willingly be that stupid.
Yeah, because the information's out there. You can go look this stuff up. It's not hard.
Mm-hmm.
Even though people try to cover up this truth, you could still find out this information that proper management of a wild area will stop forest fires, or at least keep them from getting as big.
Right.
But they refuse to manage their wildlife, and this is what happens. Their cities burn down. So we talked last week about Chang 5, or maybe that's Change 5. I can't pronounce it, but it's that spacecraft that China had sent to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
So it is. It has lifted off of the surface of the moon.
Okay.
And
does it have some?
Let's see.
Some rocks.
It rendezvous with the orbiter, and then it's bringing it back to Earth, and it will land at a location in Inner Mongolia, and it's got these rocks. I don't know how much it collected. It was supposed to collect like 2 kilograms.
Mm-hmm.
JAXA space probe. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. This is a Japanese craft.
Okay.
It landed on an asteroid and collected samples.
Wow. Is it coming back?
It is, yeah.
Cool.
The capsule containing a small amount of material from the Apollo asteroid landed in the Australian outback.
Oh, it's already back then.
So, yeah, we landed. We took a certain amount of material. It just says the capsule. I don't know what that means. That could be like something the size of a quarter, or something the size of a basketball,
grain of
or
rice. Yeah,
a giant thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we have asteroid material that we personally went and got. It's kind of neat about this because we have plenty of asteroid material that has come down and entered the atmosphere, but it always burns as it's coming here.
Yeah, so
now we've got a
piece
piece
some kind of change. Right.
That did not go through this extreme heat, and we can look at that and see how different it was, and it's very interesting.
Yeah.
And one more space one. Let's see, SpaceX Starship prototype SN8 is destroyed. There was a crash landing in Boca Chica launch site in Texas. They had done a high altitude test flight, and I guess it crashed on the way down.
Oh, okay. Well, that's why you do tests.
So, little failure by the Americans.
You know what?
The Japanese made headway, and the Chinese made headway.
But you know what? The things that we're testing for are like massive headway.
Yeah, huge.
I mean, SpaceX. It's SpaceX vision is commercial civilian space flight.
Right.
So
it's coming. We're going to get to other planets. The International Olympic Committee unanimously decided to make competitive breakdancing a sport.
Breakdancing.
So competitive breakdancing will be in the Olympics.
Okay, now here's the thing. I mean, the Olympic has. I mean,
is ballet a sport?
I mean, I don't know if ballet's there or not, but other kinds of dancing, I think are in the Olympics. But the thing is, when you think in terms of Olympics, I'm always. I always feel like they don't need to stay static. As new things come along, put them in there, turn them into competitions. They didn't used to have the the slalom board thing. They didn't used to have extreme skateboarding with the
What was the first example you gave?
The slalom boards. The slalom. Those like kind of like skis, except it's one board. Snowboard.
What?
Snowboarding.
Oh, snowboarding.
Yeah,
okay.
Slalom was what it was originally.
Yeah, but those
called.
are sports.
Well, it wasn't an Olympic sport. It was just something somebody figured out and started doing that was cool, and then the Olympics said, "Hey, let's make a competition out of that." Same thing with the skateboards with the half pipe. So you've got the extreme skateboarding as an Olympic sport now. It started out as just kids playing in parks. So and I think it's a good thing. I'm all for that kind of stuff. But here's my question about the breakdancing. Aren't they about 30 years behind on doing this?
Yeah. Yeah, I did that when I was a kid.
Shouldn't they have done this 20 years ago maybe to bring this into the Olympics by now?
The age of it brings it some kind of dignity, I guess.
Maybe.
Here's the thing. I personally, I don't think it should be an Olympic sport because it ends up being a matter of judging rather than some kind of physical feat.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a race, we know who won a race. But for things like ice skating, okay, there are some things that they have to do, but then whoever wins is pretty much, it's arbitrary. It's however the judges decide who won.
Well,
that's it.
I've actually watched...
And you find out there's all kinds of corruption behind that.
There is,
and I wouldn't trust it in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit like the ice skating. I mean, like for figure skating, for example. And I watch those, and the announcers, they kind of talk through it and say, okay, in this set, everybody's supposed to do one of these, and three of these, and they're supposed to do two of these things, but one of them has to be this way, and so they've got to work that into and in theory, at least part of the judging, the technical part, is based on how well they executed those specific things, and then there's a judging part on the artistic aspect of the overall, ensemble and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be something along those lines. But the thing is, unlike figure skating, I mean, even figure skating is something. There's a kind of a choreographed aspect, and I don't want to say that breakdancing is never choreographed, but it seems to me that one of the things that makes breakdancing so fun to watch is the fact that everybody who does it well does it on his own. He's got his own style he brings to it. He brings to it things that nobody else quite brings to it that way.
There's a couple moves that everybody knows.
Yeah.
But then most of it's just this guy's own invention or something he saw somebody else do. And whereas figure skating, there are very specific things. I don't know what any of them are, but I hear things like triple axel.
Right.
There's no such thing as that for breakdancing. Maybe. But they call it competitive breakdancing, and maybe there's a whole bunch about breakdancing that I just am unaware of.
Some of my kids actually took a couple of breakdancing classes with from a
what?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, like it was years and years and years ago. Like when they were like 8 or 9, something like that. It was only a few of them. They never really got into it a whole lot, but there are like specific moves that they teach, and it's like, okay, there's this, and you got to master that, and then there's this, and you got to master that, and then, but it's always changing, it's always ongoing, and people are coming up with new ways to make what the body does look cool. Do you remember? You remember for a while there was a craze with, I forget what it was called, but It was like a crystal or glass ball, or actually most of the time they were just acrylic, but they were like maybe colored, but transparent. It was like you could see through it, or it would be like solid black. You couldn't see through it. But the thing is, you could manipulate it with your hands in ways that made it look like it was floating, because as you moved your hands around, you did it in a way that the ball itself stayed in exactly one place. I forget what they called it, but it was a little bit of a craze.
I do not remember ever seeing anything like that.
Okay, I gotta look this up.
Just a magic trick.
It's not just a magic trick. It's more of a technique. I'm gonna call it.
It's still a magic trick. I can picture exactly what you're saying. I believe it's a thing.
Fushigi. Okay, so I'm.
But what about it?
So go do a search. Find a Fushigi video, of something actually doing that. Shoot, you don't want to see somebody who's. Okay, here's a guy. So go to YouTube and search.
You just gotta get to the point.
Okay, my point is that a lot of times, to me, breakdancing is kind of like Fushigi, but you'd have to go watch a couple of videos of somebody doing it to know why I'm saying that. Okay. So it's
I don't know.
Fushigi.
It is what it is. I don't pay attention to the Olympics anyway. I think they're silly, but
I don't have a problem with them. I think it's cool for amateur athletes to get into that kind of stuff. But are they strictly
amateur?
Are they strictly amateur anymore?
Do it all the time.
Are they allowed?
No. Well, I don't see how.
You remember it used to be amateur.
Of course not.
It used to be strictly amateur.
Yeah, I remember that was a thing, and then people like Magic Johnson were the part of the American basketball team.
Yeah.
Magic Johnson is not an amateur.
Anymore. Yeah.
He's a professional. He plays it professionally, and he shouldn't be on there. So, and I don't understand why would we make it for amateurs anyway? Russia takes their guys and train them their whole lives just for the Olympics.
I know that.
So our training ground is the free market. So we should let them train.
That's a good point. But that's part of the corruption is how Russia and China try to do it.
There were so many rules that seemed stupid and not followable that
or at least not enforceable.
I just never took it serious. Yeah. And finally, Nepal and China agree that the height of Mount Everest, the Earth's highest mountain, is 8,846.86 meters.
Well, at least that's settled now. That should have been a nonsense.
So that I guess so. It was in the news. It was on Reuters. I guess maybe they've been fighting over that for a while. I don't know.
I think that has more to do with what you consider the base of the mountain than what you consider the peak of the mountain.
I guess maybe. Yeah.
That's such a stupid
or
thing.
What you consider sea level.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Okay, wait a minute. Is this at high tide or low tide? Because you know how the moon, as it goes around, it stretches the earth.
Right.
But that is such a stupid thing for a country to have to agree with another country about.
Yeah. I'm more surprised that China would put up a fuss over it than
Nepal.
Anyone else.
It's like. All right, so now we know what China and Nepal consider Mount Everest to be.
Yeah. Okay. How long can you talk?
Okay, go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and talk. All right, so this is just kind of strange. I don't know what actually was going on here, but a guy was delivering. This is in the UK somewhere, and an Amazon deliverer was delivering a package. And he went and looked into the homeowner's window, and the homeowner happens to have a camera set up outside. So you can see everything that he's doing, but he's looking in the homeowner's window, and he breathes on his window, and then writes something on it before he leaves. The owner posts it to Amazon's Facebook page, says, "Excuse me, but what is this delivery driver doing on my window?" Amazon said, "Hey, we'll investigate." I don't see that they actually have anything concrete yet about the investigation. He's wearing a mask and a neon vest. I mean, he's like bright as day, but he's like peering in the window, and then he breathes on it and writes something.
What did he write?
Well, that's the other thing that I don't quite get, because it says the guy who owned the house said that he couldn't make it out, but he finds the whole ordeal to be creepy. But here's the thing: when you know how that works, you breathe on a window and write on it. If you want to see what they wrote, you just go breathe on the window again. Yeah. So I don't know why he didn't do that.
You know, when I stay the night at a hotel, like tonight, and I take a shower in the morning.
Oh, yeah. And the mirror's frosted up and stuff. Not frosted, but
I always write Jesus loves you on the mirror.
Oh, so when they come in and frost it again, or steam it again.
Yeah, the next guy who takes a shower is going to say Jesus loves you on the mirror. I don't know. I did that once, and I
just do it all the time.
It's like... it's like a religious thing now. Yeah. I can't not do it. I've violated something if I don't do it.
Now that you've said that, I'm going to have to do that too. But because of the oils in your finger, you can just do that without it being steamed up. It's just easier to see when it's steamed up. But you can actually do it just writing with your finger, and then it'll show up when it steams. Yeah.
Well, sometimes if I'm shaving, I dip my hand in a little bit of...
oil or shaving cream or whatever. Okay, this next one, this is truly bizarre. If you were playing a game of two truths and a lie about not about an individual person, but just the things of the world, and somebody said that there is a thing called iron crotch kung fu, you'd think it's a lie. But apparently it's a real thing. These
iron
crotch kung fu. There's a technique that involves a steel plate capped log. So you picture a log about 8 inches in diameter with a steel cap, and it's about 6.5 feet long, weighs about 90 pounds. It swings through the air and smashes into your crotch. That's a thing.
And what's the objective? To avoid it or block it?
No, to let it happen.
Wait a minute.
No, I know. Right. See, you're asking all the normal questions.
Iron crotch kung fu? Yeah. Kung fu is a fighting technique.
I know. This apparently is like being able to take punishment. Yeah. Yeah. Look it up.
So it's maybe a kung fu training technique, maybe.
Right.
I don't know.
Well,
that's a weird
thing. This master that they're talking to here, he's got a couple of kids, so I guess it didn't hurt him too bad. Maybe he's
Oh. That's terrible. I can't think of anything more terrible than that.
The quote he says on the quote he's got is he insists that with the correct methods and sufficient practice. It's the practice part that really gets me. With sufficient practice, it does not hurt and has no effect on fertility. Well, after enough practice, I imagine it stops hurting. That's one thing.
I guess so.
But, they've got a picture of the guy doing it, and I tell you what, his face looks like it hurts to me.
Yeah.
But
if you got to a point where that didn't hurt...
It's like, okay, that's...
You would be like Superman.
I know.
Like, you would be afraid of nothing. Because every guy...
That's the one
thing... He always knows that somebody can do that.
It's like, okay, that's our kryptonite. That's our vulnerability.
Yeah.
Take that away, and we've got no more vulnerability.
Wow. Yeah.
Apparently, there's also iron throat, iron head, iron chest, and iron back kung fu.
Okay. Well, I can see all those.
Yeah, but not iron crotch. Anyway, so... All right, my next one. You know what? I got to send you pictures of these things. So, you know how they say that goldfish will grow to whatever size is appropriate for the environment they're in.
I have heard that said.
Okay.
I don't know if it's true.
In South Carolina, a lake called Oak Grove Lake, this guy pulled out this. It is a goldfish. It's very clearly a goldfish, and it is huge. It's like 9 pounds. You've had a 9-pound fish. Even a 3-pound fish is big, but this is a huge 9-pound goldfish that he pulled out of this lake.
So isn't that like a koi fish or something?
Right.
Is that what koi are? They're just big goldfish?
That's what I think they are. Yeah, I think goldfish are just small koi.
Okay.
The Guinness Book of World Records currently lists 2 pounds as the largest goldfish.
2?
2. This one is 9.
You would think more people could grow them that big.
Well,
you just put it in a lake.
True.
It's that easy.
It might be the largest one, I don't know, like wild caught or something like that, you know. There's a man who claims to have once caught a 20-pound goldfish, but the spokesman for the Kentucky Department of Wildlife says that's more likely. Oh, okay, so maybe goldfish aren't strictly koi, because the wildlife guy says it was likely a butterfly koi, not a goldfish. So sounds like maybe there's some difference between a koi and a goldfish. I didn't think there was.
So they're like carp, aren't they?
I thought carp.
Aren't goldfish a type of carp?
Let me look that up real quick.
I always thought carp looked like goldfish.
Yeah, they do, right?
Some carp. And I've seen some giant carp.
So I typed in as a goldfish. Modern goldfish are a domesticated version of wild carp from East Asia. So there's that.
Okay. Well, that fits in with everything we've said so far. And I've seen carp get huge, like 20 or 30 pounds. I've never seen like a 50
So
pound,
maybe this isn't such a big deal. But it is pretty interesting to see the picture of this huge goldfish. Which, it's got all the same shape and the same, that same kind of sheen to the scales and everything else of a goldfish that you would have swimming around in your little half-gallon bowl.
Yeah. We should start putting the links to these stories on our website when we talk about them.
Part of the problem is I often record on a computer that I don't have my email on, so I can't just send it. I have to go look it up later and send it to you. But I'm going to try to remember to do that for this one. I'll try to remember to send you the Iron Crotch Kung Fu picture, too.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I might have to put one of them blur things on the...
Yeah.
Edit the video.
Okay, my last one is just kind of fun. In Pembroke Pines, Florida, the police thought there was an armed break-in in progress at a men's clothing store, and they, because people were spotted storming the store with rifles. When they arrived, they learned that it was a music video that was being filmed with the store owner's knowledge. The rifles weren't real. They were just actors in a video, but I guess a men's clothing I guess there was a music store, a music video where that involves men with rifles.
Didn't cameras or anything tip anyone off?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. What I like weren't there cameras around or something? Maybe all the cameras were inside the store. And it was like the filming was the break-in or something like that.
And then some guy driving by sees them all breaking in and decides, I'll call the police. They're robbing that clothing store with rifles.
It does say that the city had not given a permit for the filming. So even though the store owner knew, it was in a shopping center, and the shopping center itself was closed, and so some people thought, hey, while the shopping center's closed, let's go ahead and shoot this video. We'll get one of the stores to let us in, and we can shoot this video in his store.
I see.
And so there was no permit or anything, and so, I guess but I don't know. Do you need a permit? Is the mall itself public property, or is it like Forest Fair Mall? If Forest Fair Mall was closed, now I could see where one particular store in Forest Fair, they might have to get permission from the owners of the mall property itself in order to allow someone to film something on it. But the mall owners themselves, that's private property. Public. They can allow people to film without a permit from the town or anything like that.
Don't need a permit to film.
Yeah. So, anyway.
That is pretty cool, though.
I know.
And
now I got to go try to find out. You know, that's the thing, the story, it doesn't say what song they were shooting a video for. So now it makes me want to go look up the song and
so
find
nobody
out.
could watch it.
So I'll have to go, and it'd be kind of fun to watch. Oh, okay, there's the police in the background. Hey, guys.
They should leave
right
it
on
in
cue.
if,
I know,
if
that's what I'm
happen.
thinking. That's all I got.
Huh. Okay. Well, that's a short show today.
It was only an hour and 15.
It was a short show today.
Short show today. Huh?
Yeah, usually we go for a lot longer, but that's all right.
It was a short topic. You know, we're just kind of playing around. It's kind of a break from some of the seriousness that's going on in the world. You know. Right.
Yeah, I didn't even bring up I don't even want to think about it. Come to think of it.
Yeah.
About the election and the COVID-19 vaccine that's about to be imposed on all of us.
Yeah, that's a big one. And did you see there was some quote I saw from Biden about, I'm going to, when I get into office, I'm going to mandate that masks for a time be worn everywhere that I'm able. And it's like, you're such a moron, because that is precisely nowhere. You have no power to do that as the president.
Yeah. I know.
Okay.
But he's going to, and it'll be
This
everywhere.
is something that's concerning. I'm kind of worried about this, and maybe we'll even talk about it. Maybe we'll try to do some digging and talk about this in one of the next few podcasts. But this is from disclose.tv. I'm just going to read it as it is. It may be completely bogus, but it says, just in, Vatican enters into a global alliance with Rothschild, Rockefeller, and Ford Foundation, MasterCard, Bank of America, and others through the new Council for Inclusive Capitalism to create a more inclusive, sustainable, and trusted economic system. Doesn't that sound ominous?
That sounds absolutely evil, especially knowing what we know about Francis and knowing what we know about all these other entities. I mean, the more rich these people are, just the less you trust them.
Yeah.
The bigger the entity, the less trustworthy they are. And that's just by nature. And, well, YouTube is proving that right now.
Yep.
Oh, well. I don't...
Yep. Pope Francis clearly believes that absolute top-down economic planning and micromanagement of people's lives is the right approach.
Help for the little guy there. Yeah, he was all against capitalism until Bank of America, waved some money.
Yeah, well, I don't even think it's that. He was all against capitalism until he found a way to get capitalist. The big capitalist entities to turn socialist with him.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's another reason we better pray and keep praying and think about what we said and
circle those beads.
Keep circling those beads.
All right. Bye, folks.
And we'll see you next week.